Well, welcome my friends to the show that never ends, and yes, we're back for season 22-23. This is the first one, and what an interesting weekend it's been. We've got 3 matches to discuss. That is, we'll start with Wycombe. We'll talk a little bit, tiny bit, about Liverpool winning a cup that Jurgen Klopp has not won in this country before, and we'll also discuss there was another game. Can't remember. Oh yes, England have beaten Germany in a European Cup final. We had to leave it to the girls to do because the boys just can't do it. So we got those 3. I also want to explain a little bit about Barcelona and how the hell they're buying all the players they're buying and what this could actually mean for their future. And if by any little chance we have a bit at the end, maybe, or I might leave it to next week, we got stuff to talk about with football streaming and Wycombe Wanderers doing their football streaming, but what this actually will mean, because there's been new rules applied, and you will be able to watch something in the region of 15 or 16 Wycombe home matches at home without bothering to leave your back door. So how does this work? Who gets the money? We'll see if we've got time for that one. But first, Kieran, before we go anywhere, we have to... Now, can I suggest there are no Wycombe programmes when you turn up? Buy this. This is really good. They sell it for £1.50. I am a member of the, whatever we are, the Independent Wycombe Wanderers Football Club. Buy this. It is a brilliant read. Pages on pages of very funny, but also very interesting articles. Much better than what used to be the real programme before they stopped selling it. Buy this. £1.50. That's all it costs if you're not a member. There's 4 a year they produce. In there is the big fat quiz of the season. So I thought I'd just ask Kieran a couple of questions just to get him off the ground on first programme. So Kieran, who knocked Wycombe out of the FA Cup?
I barely even watched Wycombe last year, even though this is a Wycombe-based show. Not a clue.
You don't know?
No, not at all.
Right.
Spurs was the year before.
It was the year before.
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you who it was. How are you getting on out there? Anybody know? Well, it was Hartlepool United, that big team that we've all heard of.
Ask me questions I might actually get. I'm all looking.
How many of Akinfenwa's 6 goals came against clubs he used to play for? Any idea?
These are for people who are actual Wycombe nerds as opposed to me who doesn't have a clue.
All right.
Let's say 3.
That's correct. You see, you did know. And they were against who?
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon, yeah. 1 against Doncaster and 2 against Wimbledon. And last question, who were the only team to beat Wycombe in a league game by more than a single goal away from Adams Park? Now, if Sunderland. You can... You're right. Yeah, that was... yeah. See, he does know. How did you get on with that? That was a quick little flutter till we get on to the big stuff next week. But
I'm not sure that's the word, but yeah.
Okay.
A
flutter. Did you have a flutter on yesterday's football game?
For a bit.
And did you get anything?
No.
I don't know, mate.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Did you put any money on how many corners? Look, well, why did we bother doing all that research last year if you're not going to put your money there?
I doubt we would have got it right.
We wouldn't, would we? What did you, I wonder, think was going to happen at the Wycombe game? I actually predicted with my friends before friends and him, I thought it was going to be 1-1. I just saw the beginning of the season, you never know. teams aren't sort of, but that wasn't the case, was it? What happened?
My storyteller. Uh, First half was lovely and fun, wasn't it?
The first half was terrific.
Everyone was a bit like, don't know about this. Got a goalkeeper who has barely just been born, never seen him before, and we don't really have a centre back. We were wondering what formation we were going to play. Nobody was really sure. And then, luckily enough, Burton were awful, and we were pretty good. So we stormed into a 3-0 lead. In saying that, all our goals were extremely good.
They were, weren't they? They were all definitely watchable. None of them were sort of, hit his backside and went in. None of them were goals like that.
There was an element of brilliance in all of them. I mean,
yeah,
Scowen's pass for the first goal was brilliant.
It was, straight through. How he saw that pass was on, I'm not quite sure. Because when you look at it, there's nothing there.
There's a decent sized gap. It just requires someone to run into.
Which Wheeler did. Which was... So, yeah, I loved that first goal. I thought that was terrific.
And then Mehmeti just running through everyone. It's just... he can do it, and we hope that he continues to do it. Hopefully not too much before September, otherwise clubs will probably snap them up, you'd imagine. Because there's an awful lot of time for them to be able to snap them up before the...
There is, yeah. We don't want him doing too many of them, do we?
No.
We want a few going in off his backside, so it doesn't look like he's got any talent.
And then Scowen's was just whack, wasn't it? A little bit on the keeper. He didn't actually move, and it felt like he could have done. Whether he would have got there or not, I don't know. But just looked a little bit weird happening with the keeper not moving. It was a very, very, very good strike balance, so cannot complain.
You know what I can. How I can be a bit horrible about people, like your mother and things, but not in front of the camera. Our friend, Mr. Goalkeeper, who wanted to go to a club where he felt he'd be able to get promoted, so went to Sheffield Wednesday. There's quite a lot written about him by Sheffield Wednesday fans with the 3 goals. How to word this? He let in. If you look at them, Sheffield Wednesday are favourites to go up in number 1 position. And I think Ainsworth sort of let him go to Sheffield Wednesday to give us a bigger chance. That's my theory. There is talk in Sheffield Wednesday that he needs to go to Slimmer's World because he couldn't seem to get his feet off the ground to save the football. There were some very interesting comments by Sheffield Wednesday fans. I just wanted to say our goalkeeper didn't let any goals in, did they?
Only have 1 shot to deal with, in all fairness.
Oh, there was that. And so we're coming back to that. Burton, how bad were Burton?
Very. They look like they haven't had a pre-season of tactics. They may well have been fit enough, but tactically they didn't really do anything particularly. And it must be either for Hasselbank, it must be unbelievably frustrating, or he's just really bad as a manager, because he must have an idea of how he wants his team to play, and he was obviously a brilliant footballer. You must go look at your team and think, why on earth are they doing this, that, or the other? Or he doesn't portray his messages across them very well. Hence, they just look disjointed and look like they were never, ever going to score.
They weren't, were they? The daft thing is we had 30 minutes and then Wycombe sort of slowed down a little, 3-0 up. Second half, just turned over. It was pointless, wasn't it? Yeah. We could have gone home for what it was worth. They were never going to score, and that's the honest truth. The interesting thing is, if you do look at the highlights, you will see all the 3 goals are the first bits they show you, because Wycombe went 3-0 up without Burton having a sniff of the ball. And yeah, what a great job. Ainsworth obviously had them coming out ready for that one, didn't they?
I mean, it was very similar to our start then at last season. Was we get a few goals in the first half, and then it'd be a pretty dry second half where they may score one, but we'd still get a pretty comfortable win. And it was exactly the same yesterday. Just really quick first half, and second half just closed up shop. And we did that really well.
Yeah.
Even if it was boring for us, because
it was boring for us. On the other hand, while Sheffield Wednesday and Portsmouth fans were jumping up and down saying, "Yeah, what an exciting game," I'd rather 3 points than have an exciting game. I'd rather win 3-0 than have a draw of 3-3. Now, Ipswich, come to Ipswich in a minute. I was just thinking, that Sheffield Wednesday expected to come first, Ipswich second, but we'll come to them in a second. I was going to say, all the Wycombe players. Let's take a look at the Wycombe players, shall we?
Don't worry, I can name them.
You can name them. Good without. Right. Okay. Let's start with Mr. Goalkeeper and work our way forward. What we thought of them.
He was fine.
He got man of the match, may I just say,
and
he didn't really have to do anything.
In terms of his goalkeeping prowess, it's difficult to tell because he didn't have to do anything. He did catch the crosses that he was supposed to. If he was to command his box a bit more, I imagine he'd find it quite difficult because he is quite small for a goalkeeper. He's probably about 5'11", I guess, 6 foot. He didn't look very tall in the goal.
Right.
His kicking at times was very good. At times, just like he always goes for the absolute boundary of the pitch. And when he gets it, brilliant, fine. When it doesn't, obviously goes off the pitch and you're a bit frustrated. And it happens maybe 3 or 4 times where you felt as if it didn't need to.
Why not up to Vokes? That's what they normally did.
Well, I imagine the idea of smashing it to Vokes and then him flicking it on, there's a bigger chance of you getting something if you smash it to Wheeler and kind of he heads it in fields and something happens. I'd imagine there's a bigger chance of something happening, which is fine. But obviously there's less chance it actually gets to Wheeler because you've got to be so pinpoint with it.
Yeah.
So arguably, with any goalkeeper we would have had in goal, that would have happened. It was just noticeable.
Okay. And okay, well, let's start on the left back next then. And
Jacobson.
Fine. No problem. It was Jacobson, wasn't it? He looked a bit fitter, but I mean, he looked like he'd had a month off. But he looked, nobody was catching him or anything. By the end of the season, last season, I was a bit concerned that he was looking a bit more like an old man.
Well, maybe the controlling the workload between Obita and Jacobson maybe handled a bit better.
Yes.
So that doesn't happen. So I don't know whether I prefer Obita or Jacobson there, to be honest. I think I do. I mean, I've always liked Jacobson, so I think I do prefer him there. But Obita is still very good as well.
Obita was good at crossing the ball as well. Both of them are. Centre backs, we wondered, didn't we? When we saw the lineup, we thought, that's strange. Well, who are we going to be? What's the back line? It would look like we were playing a 3-3-3. Well, in fact, he had Grimmer and Tafazoli. How did that work? Did it work?
Fine. I think with all these players, it'll be difficult to say determinedly whether they will be as good as they were in that game throughout the season. Like, the backline was not troubled whatsoever.
No.
In Tafazoli, just big boy, gets his head to everything.
Yeah.
Looks very composed and was absolutely
He's a rock solid tank, isn't he?
Yeah.
Why do you think he didn't play that other young lad as a centre back? Why do you think he picked Grimmer? Do you think it was more of a case he picked Wheeler to play right back and so just moved Grimmer along? Because do you think he picked Wheeler as a right back for this particular game?
Maybe, but playing a young centre back is always a bit here and there. It can either go very well or go extremely poorly.
But he's not going to surely play Wheeler as a right back and Grimmer in the middle.
You wouldn't have thought so.
As the norm, is he?
I mean, Farino, who has been given the number 5 shirts, you assume he'll come in and be there a bit more. No, it's doubtful. I mean, Grimmer's played centre back before and he's been fine. I doubt he'll play Wheeler at right back that much. I don't know where McCarthy was.
It worked though, didn't it? Wheeler was good.
Yeah, there was no problem with it. Maybe against some better teams, something may well change in that regard, but it was fine.
I mean, obviously he was winning all the headers down that side, and of course scored his goal. He got up there, and he's pretty good. Well, he's a midfielder, really. Yeah. So he's good in the midfield as a defender. So when you're on top, he is good. Mm. Okay, what about in the middle then?
We had Scowen and Gape.
Yeah.
Scowen also set up the first, scored the third. Something I haven't seen from him too much is attacking prowess and all that sort of thing. So that was nice to see. He was very good. Broke up the play, all that sort of thing. I thought Gape looked better as well because he played in the playoff final, didn't he? And we said he just looked like he got run over, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
But he looked a lot fitter, smarter, all that sort of thing. So,
do we need a squad this time then, where you can see the difference in this game compared with the end of the season? Is this where maybe we could do with, some of them having a bit of a break, having a squad rather than your starting 11?
It's very difficult to have that in the lower leagues, isn't it? And we evidently haven't invested too much in our squads over the summer.
No.
So it looks doubtful that would happen. I mean, of course, you want to have as many players at your disposal as possible, but it's unlikely that to happen. Because, of course, players want to play, and if you can't just say, oh, you'll play when he doesn't, kind of thing.
No.
It's not as easy as that.
Mehmeti.
Brilliant. First half, just run them ragged.
Yeah, didn't know how to cope, did they?
No.
It was just daft. It was daft. They're in the same league. Daft.
Yeah, it wasn't comparable.
No. Who else we got?
Horgan.
What do you think to Horgan? Look, we always say, and I'll say it, he annoys me because he looks good. He does look good, and I think he plays really well. He's just, there's something missing, and I don't know what it is. It's that final sort of.
Well, it's just the thing that
if he had just a little bit more, it'd be brilliant.
It's very easy to say, but it's the goal and assist scores, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you always try and say, oh, you can't just base a player off their goals and assists kind of thing. But he ended last season on 1 goal, didn't he?
Mm.
And for him, that's really not enough.
No.
He should be. Like you want your striker to get about 20, and you want the 3 behind him, Mehmeti, Horgan, and McCleary, to get about 10. Not necessarily in the league, but in all competitions. And I don't know if
he's not going to do it, is he?
He doesn't get in the position
that often
to get shots off. like Mehmeti gets shots off when he's clean through one-on-one against someone. It's difficult for Horgan because he's in the middle and he's got two centre backs facing him essentially. But he doesn't. His shots are. They have to be really, really, really good to go in, and they may do once or twice, but it's not going to happen that regularly. So he doesn't get that many clear-cut chances, I don't think. So maybe it's a knack of getting in the box at the right time and all that sort of thing. But you're right, he does play well. It's just annoying that.
If he had that final little bit, maybe he wouldn't be in Division 1.
Maybe.
McCleary.
He was okay. I think in the first 40 minutes he was good, along with everyone else, and caused a bit of trouble here and there. Then kind of died along with the game. Didn't really participate much.
No.
Which is fine. Like, not everyone needs to be outstanding every single time, but just not what happens.
And now the one that we did talk about a bit, Vokes.
I was going to say, I can't really say that.
No.
Looks unfit.
Unfit, absolutely. He did not look good, did he? I think Vokes has been on holiday a little bit too much, maybe. Maybe those drinks and those beef burgers by the beach has been a bit much. But he certainly wasn't moving, was he?
No.
In any form. I mean, his jumps weren't high.
No.
Half the time he didn't even bother. He just stood there. And
he still caused trouble.
He did by standing there, but that's.
There. But in terms of,
he wasn't sharp at all, was he?
No.
He's gonna have to get a little bit. He's gonna have to get going fast. He needs sort of somebody like you to tell him what he's supposed to be eating and drinking. But have a chat to Tafazoli. He'd put him in his place.
I mean, this is what I was speaking to Mum about it actually, because we're talking about like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Sturridge. They always get injured, and is it a player attitude thing that they just don't put in the like injury prevention work and the aerobic kind of stuff? Like, because
is it?
Well, I mean, you see Tafazoli, and he's either eating healthy food or he's in the gym, or doing stretching, or doing this.
You can watch this, by the way, people. He has his own thing. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel.
And he's got his YouTube. Worth a watch, even if you're not overly interested in this stuff. If you see the time and effort that he puts in to his whole physical thing that makes this up here tick as well. I mean, the word professional is what it means. And then you see Vokes out there and you think,
you're getting the impression he does the same things as Tafazoli does.
No.
Which we were trying to work out why, because there's an element if Vokes becomes more aerobically fit, he might lose a bit of that strength kind of thing that makes him such a hassle for defenders. Hence why Akinfenwa didn't move very well. But you can be a bit more aerobically fit than that.
Yes.
Like he's only a couple of years older than Tafazoli, and the two are incomparable in terms of their fitness. So, I mean, of course, Ainsworth and their S&C team will know this. So I imagine
they watched the same game and they saw him not move.
Well, they must do tests, and they have to do tests in pre-season to see where the players are at and where they can improve and stuff. So
it'd be nice to see that, though, wouldn't it? It'd be fascinating to see that.
Milner won Liverpool's again. Of course he does, despite being 37. So it is doable.
So he does what? What did he win?
They do like a blood lactate test. So it's like a bleep test where you have to go like run 10 meters that way, 10 meters. It's just continuous, and it gradually gets quicker.
And,
And they take your bloods to see how much lactate and all that.
Right, so he's basically proving he's the fittest.
He's the fittest.
Even at the age of 37, he's the fittest.
Yeah. So
right.
It's doable.
Okay.
Like, you can do it. So, not to say that his season's written off, but Vokes, could you please get a little bit fitter?
Yeah, get on with it, mate. Come on.
You can't. It takes a decent amount of time to build up as well. I can't believe he's lost it that quickly over summer.
Right. So he was just a bit sluggish. Do you think
might have just been a bit sluggish. Because we did mention these things more in the second half.
Yeah.
Not a lot was happening.
No, but he didn't win things, did he?
No, he didn't.
Right. And now we come to subs. I mean, he made 5 substitutes, didn't he?
Who was there? There was Abita, who we've spoken about.
Yeah, he's
fine.
Like Abita, yeah. Solid.
Hanlon, who
he got an injury.
Looked like he got injured.
Yeah,
a little bit. I mean, none of these subs particularly did much. We're just kind of mentioning them.
No, because again, second half, boring second half, subs just came on and
Wing
just carried the game, really.
Yeah, Wing came on and just did whatever. Mella came on.
Freeman
looks all right, actually.
Yeah. He always does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's fine. I said to your mum, looking at the England game and how they've set up with the same 11 players every game and then bring on these subs. Why don't they start with the subs that score the goal? And I was explaining that Wycombe's got a player that's the same as that, and that's him. If you start him, he
doesn't do anything.
No, he only ever actually looks really good when he comes on as a substitute and everybody else has been on the pitch for an hour. And then he does his thing, and that's good. That's good. That's why you have what people call super subs. I mean, that's what they're for, to change games, and that's what he does. If we had been 1-0 down, he would have come on, and I'm sure he would have starred. He usually does. Okay, well, it's good to have him back. Yeah. And where was he last year? Was he?
It was non-league team.
Non-league, yeah.
There was also the Manchester United boy.
Yes, Curly,
who didn't kick the ball properly once. Bless him.
Him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Curly, not the other one.
Was it his professional debut? I think it might have been. I think he might have 1 or 2 appearances last season or something.
They made a big deal of him coming on the pitch.
They did.
Which really didn't do him any favours. So, and we have a Manchester United player, Wycombe have just bought. And you're thinking, yeah, but the reason Wycombe got him and Manchester United didn't keep him was because maybe, just maybe, he's not quite up to their standard. So we're buying a second-rate Manchester United throwaway. We welcome him onto the pitch, and that's really what we got, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was evidently quite nervous.
Yeah.
So he didn't kick the. When I say he didn't kick the ball properly once, I think he made 1 pass, but then he had a shot. He was near the 6-yard box, like on the left-hand side, and completely scuffed it, and he went out for a throw-in.
Yeah, we're not putting this guy down. No, all right, we've given you a fair assessment of what. I mean, he was as nervous as Watson, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm sure he may either after the game he'll either think, "Oh crap, I've ruined my chance," kind of thing, or he'll just laugh it off. Because at the end of the day, it didn't matter.
He hasn't ruined his chance, I might add.
No.
Because Vokes is not going to be staying on that football pitch for 90 minutes a game.
No.
There's always going to be space for a striker. And so he has to keep fit, keep going, and he will get his chance again.
Yeah.
Of course he will. That sums up that game, really. Can't remember who we're playing next. Doesn't really matter at this stage. Do need to mention Is there anything else you want to say about that game, by the way? It was nice to
Not
actually
really.
hear the fans sing, singing songs about Ainsworth. That was nice. I always think he gets forgotten a bit with all the hard work and stuff that he's done for our club. Good to also to get back after the bloody Sunderland thing. The trouble is, every time you tap in Wycombe Wanderers into YouTube, you get the Sunderland game and some Sunderland fan taking the piss out of Wycombe, and so we need to do something about that, like win the final next time. So when you tap Wycombe Wanderers in, up comes Wycombe winning rather than losing. I was going to say a few of the other scores. I said about Ipswich, a favourite to come second. Well, Ipswich, how did they get on? They drew 1-1 with Bolton. This is how you can predict this season. I do not know. There's too many big teams out there. So, fine, they didn't lose. Another one worth mentioning, Derby. Oh, am I fed up listening to a podcast on the EFL, and all they spoke about, instead of 72 different football teams they had to discuss before the kickoff yesterday, and all they discussed was Derby. Like the other 71 don't actually exist. But they did do us a favour, or whatever. They did beat Oxford, so that was nice. Interesting if you want to have a look at the interview with Oxford manager afterwards, how he completely blamed one of his midfield players, just stuck it on him, named him just outright, said it was his fault. Wasn't the goalkeepers, wasn't the defence, and blah blah blah. It was a midfielder who crossed the other midfielder. He blamed it on that? Was entirely the reason Oxford lost, and we've talked about it, and he then went and did it. So he talk about sort of throw somebody under a bus. Other interesting scores in there, not a lot really. Sheffield and Portsmouth 3-3 we mentioned. Plymouth 1-0 beating Barnsley. That was an interesting one. I was going to give Barnsley a hope with that. Peterborough beat Cheltenham 3-2, and of course the other one we like to see. Now this must be a worry, because people were giving MK Dons a big chance. They were favourites to come third. Okay, they lost 1-0 to Cambridge. Now, I don't know why they're favourites to come third, because they've lost all their players, haven't they? They're all just new players that aren't as good. Most of their team were on loan, MK Dons, last year, other than their main striker who scored everything for them, and they sold him. And to lose to Cambridge on your first day, I think you don't lose to Cambridge on your first day. They're one of the smallest. They're one of the ones where it's a safe 3 points, I would have said, for the team expecting to try and go up. Did you say that? Is that fair? If we'd lost to Burton,
difficult to tell
instance,
first, though.
If we'd lost to Burton,
yeah. Then you have to remember that the teams that get promoted normally win about half their games. It's not a great sign, no, but they don't. The teams that go up don't actually win that many.
Okay. Next. Liverpool beating Manchester City. Does it make a blind bit of difference in the Charity Shield? Don't make a blind. What did it teach us? What did it tell us? Anything? Did it teach Haaland missed a hat trick?
Haaland was awful.
Can't kick the ball straight. He's useless. So he's not as good as everybody thought.
I mean, it's difficult to tell what Man City normally start slow anyway. In the season, Haaland was awful. But then Van Dijk normally just marks those sort of strikers out of the game. Liverpool were better than City throughout. Salah looked sharp, which is nice considering it's 400k.
Yeah, you bloody hope so, really. I mean,
I mean, it was good because at the end of last season he was dreadful. So it was nice to see that he was potentially back to where he kind of was.
yeah.
Thiago was still disgustingly good. And there really wasn't much to say about City. Their goal was pretty lucky. It wouldn't have happened with a better goalkeeper. And Nunes scoring is quite nice as well.
What about Manchester City? What about their left back problem?
Cancelo's not bad, is he? They're looking at
They tried, but but they're not getting him, are they?
No, Brighton want 50 mil, which is ridiculous because I've seen highlights of him today, and they're okay, but they're not great.
I mean, he stands out for Brighton, but then that doesn't make him worth that much, does it?
I mean, I can understand why they've asked for 50 million, considering who you can get for 50 million these days. But I'm not even sure he would play because they've still got Kyle Walker at right back and Cancelo at left back. And they like having Cancelo at left back because it means he can cut in and do stuff with his right foot. So, I mean, actually, it's their fault for giving Cancelo the number 7 shirt for a fullback, which is disgusting in itself.
Yes.
So they can buy a fullback if they really want to, and I'm sure they will, and they'll spend about 100 million on them, but they don't need them.
No,
I'm not.
Are they going to get the hang of playing with the number 9
eventually?
Because it didn't look comfortable to me.
No, De Bruyne actually got quite peed off of him.
Yeah, he did. He did. It just didn't look comfortable. They did City. The one touch up the sides and in didn't happen. He was standing there, and everything was supposed to be coming his way. But City don't play like that, and it didn't look comfortable to me. And I think either. Well, first of all, I think he's overrated because of where he's been. So I don't know what he thinks about himself. Maybe he's come here as almost like to try to improve himself. I don't know. I don't think you're going to have a superstar at the front like people think you are. He is not going to stick away 88 goals in 80 games for Manchester City.
No. I think the thing that may back him up a bit is his Champions League record is also very good, which does lead you to believe that it's not just because he plays in the Bundesliga kind of thing. I don't think he'll be as great as everyone makes it out to be.
No.
But I still think he'll still be up there with like your Kanes and your Salahs for the Golden Boot kind of thing. He'll still score an awful lot. But that's just because of
Manchester City.
Manchester City.
Mm.
And even if they do find it difficult with playing with the number 9, they have absolutely no excuse. I don't care what Pep's style of play is. You cannot tell me that he can't fit a number 9 in. The players they have, like, it'd just be very irritating.
Did Liverpool gain anything out of that?
Big, not really. Bit of confidence, mate. I mean, Klopp's won the Community Shield, which is nice.
He's never won that before. No.
Like if you lost to City, it'd be a bit like, oh, here you go again. City going to win everything. So it gives you a little bit of a boost, but nothing incredible.
And what about the new Liverpool guy up front then?
He missed a chance.
Yeah, he did.
Which was the kind of chance that you'd want him to take. it might be fair enough because it's his first competitive game for Liverpool and all that sort of stuff. And he did get another goal, which is fine.
Did he get a penalty?
He won the penalty.
Yeah.
So I was content with how he plays.
Content.
He caused trouble, which is what you want.
Okay. Okay, moving on from that then. I think, just to say, I think one thing it does do is it does tell Manchester City Liverpool are still here.
Yeah. Because there's always everyone's writing us off as not having a big enough squad and all that sort of
Yeah,
thing. And they're like, if Van Dijk gets injured again, it's just like,
yeah,
well, he probably won't.
Moving on, got to come to, it's coming home. It's come home. England have finally won the European Cup.
Mm.
The obvious thing I won't say is, but it's only the winning. I'm not saying that. It was brilliant. It was good. I'd have their manager every day of the week for the men's team. She obviously has an idea on what she's doing out on that football pitch, and it includes attacking football, which is really nice to see. She has her ideas and she uses them. She uses subs. Our friend for England doesn't. I hope he's watched this actually and learnt a few things about teams and how, because England weren't the best team in this competition, in my opinion. They were on the back foot a number of times during this competition, but they won, and that's what you have to do. We finally kicked Germany off the pedestal in the women's football. Germany are the most successful. They've won everything, and they win everything. But finally, English women's football's caught up. Did you enjoy it?
Did very much so. The tournament I did. The final was very, very, very stop-start.
Yeah. A lot of fouls.
Yeah, which I'm trying to work out if it's the referee's fault or not. I think the people will give the referee a bit of a hard time because she gave those 2 yellow cards in the first half when she really shouldn't have. But there were an awful lot of fouls that probably were fouls. And so everyone got on the referee's back because they're like, oh, let's blame the referee. But Germany and England, to be fair, were very to stick your foot in.
Yeah, they both got away with it, having 11 players on the pitch at the end of the game. I thought.
I mean, Stanway probably would have got sent off.
Yeah.
In a different world.
Yeah.
Then
there was that German young girl, the one that won the young women's footballer of the competition, the 20-year-old. She shouldn't have been even at the final. In the semis, she stuck a boot into somebody, and it was studs up job, and it really was shocking. And she should have been sent off then. She didn't even get booked, if I remember. No, I thought, shit, young player, goodness sake, she's lucky to have been on the football pitch. I thought she was dreadful.
Yeah.
But
our first goal was unbelievably good.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so was Germany's, to be fair. Their goal was really good.
Yep.
Our second one wasn't. Just a corner, bundled in, wasn't it?
Bundled in, yeah.
I'm half-heartedly looking forward and also not looking forward to the memes online about the girl taking her shirt off in the celebration. Because there will be some.
There will be.
There will be.
I wish she hadn't done that. A bit unnecessary because we know what people are like.
Yeah. It's not her fault necessarily, but we know.
I'm just to say she did have, a sports bra on, but you're
just like, there's some weird men out there.
Yeah, she's given them a bit of a platform there, hasn't she?
So, yeah, but
do you want to say anything? It was really, it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed women's football European Cup. I'd be interested to watch just what it's like
at club level.
a bit down and whether I would enjoy watching it. Because at the moment, of course, it's always on TV. It's not like Sky TV at the moment, I might add, because it will catch up. Women's football is behind. There is no doubt in that. There's no question. It is behind. But it will catch up quick, I think.
Yeah. And there was a comment made by Ian Wright at the end after the final that I think he got wrong, but it's not necessarily his fault, was a lot of the games are played at awkward times, like Sunday, 6 o'clock in the evening kind of thing. And he said, well, they need to be played earlier in the day or at times that people can get to, etc., etc., which he's right about. But the problem is there a big enough fan base outside of men's football to go to the women's football?
Yeah, because if it becomes a, shall I go to that game or that game? Do I want to go and watch Wycombe Wanderers or do I want to watch the Chairgirls? Obviously, surprise, surprise, you'd go to Wycombe Wanderers other than the family of the Chairgirls. I hope I'm not being rude with that comment.
Or just young girls who support Wycombe ladies as opposed to Wycombe men's.
Yeah.
Could be growing up supporting Wycombe men's, hence we go to that. So but we could be equally interested in going to watch the Wycombe ladies. However, if they're played at the same time, that doesn't really work.
It'd be interesting if they stuck the Chairgirls, for instance, on the game in front, for instance. So you just go an hour and a half early and you watch, if you want to watch them play before. I know that makes it sound like the main game, but it would that for Wycombe at least, it would encourage people to watch Wycombe.
That's something that doesn't need to happen, actually, is that they play all the women's games in the big stadiums, don't they?
They do. They do.
Even if because they spoke about it in this one, that apparently the bigger stadiums didn't want to host the women's Euros games, which obviously is, you don't want that. You want, Old Trafford, Stamford Bridge, all of them to host these games. So yeah, that was a bit of a shame that
they will next time.
They will next time. Seeing what Wembley was like today,
87,000,
which they said was the highest for a women's or men's Euros final.
Yes, they've added a seat.
Yeah, not sure how that happens, but
yeah. So they've got to make it easy for people to get to. It's got to be in a time when kids can go, obviously, because it's different people go. You can see that in the crowd, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think. It should be entertaining. That's what it's for, and that's what it is. And it will improve as time goes on. But it will be interesting to see what teams like Arsenal. I've never watched it, you see, but it will be interesting to see what teams like Arsenal, etc., are like. I do intend to now watch it. So
there you go.
Maybe there's enough people in the country that is actually, it's worked.
And it will do in this country, and we hope it will do in other countries as well.
Yes.
Other countries now need to follow suit.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really pleased and I'm really enthusiastic for it, I have to say, because I love football. The matter is kicking the ball around. I loved watching you on a Sunday morning. I really miss watching the under this is playing football on a Sunday morning. It was the football. I loved the football, and so the same applies. And I'd be interested to see the Chairgirls play if it made it easy for me to be able to watch it. Would I go out of my way? Not at the moment. Not at the moment. Okay. Number 4. Do we keep going?
Been going for about an hour.
Have we?
Yeah. So if it's a quickie, I suppose
It's a quickie, and I wanted to explain Barcelona because a lot of people don't understand where Barcelona are getting the money from. I'm gonna look it up on here because I want to get it right. They've started calling Barcelona. They've got a nickname, okay, and you all know what you think it is, but they started calling them Levers FC. Now, the reason for that is partly as a joke of people leaving, like Messi, etc., the Levers FC, but because the guy that owns it or is in charge of it, the president, he spoke about he's got 3 levers to pull to get Barcelona out of their problem. Okay. Now, the first lever he's already pulled to get Barcelona out of their problem. Up till he pulled that lever, he was only allowed for every £3 that he sold, he was only allowed to spend £1 because of what Barcelona were worth. In other words, he was having to cut everything right down to the bottom. He was in trouble. And so he needed to get out of this where he was throwing Barcelona away. So he pulled the first lever. That first lever was selling 10% of the television rights to a company, to a US invested company called 6th Street. So, and that's for 25 years. Now you're thinking, oh my goodness, he sold 10% of their TV rights. I mean, that's mad, isn't it? Lever 2, pulled lever 2, and he's just got rid of another 15% on top to this same company. So they've now sold 25% of their TV rights, and he's made something like £500 million in selling them for 25 years. Now the 500 million means now for every £1 he sells a player, he can buy one for £1. So he's now on even ground to be able to replace the Barcelona team with as good a Barcelona team. Now he can go out and buy, which is exactly what he's done. He's bought Leeds bloke Rafinha, who's done really well. They played against Real Madrid the other night as a sort of friendly, and they beat him. He scored. The other guy is Lewandowski. Lewandowski, of course, is knocking on a bit, so they're not going to sell him ever. Nobody would buy him. Then, so are they going to get their money back? The problem they have, and well, first of all, what are the problems? The problems aren't, and well, the way they look at it is they've sold 25% of their TV rights. 25% for 25 years. Is that a problem? Well, you think about it. 25 years ago, what did the Premier League, or whatever it was then, TV, if we'd sold TV, they'd be in trouble, because over the next few years, TV became where all the money was. Where is all the money going to be in 25 years' time for Barcelona? Where will they be making their money? Well, they're not thinking that they're going to be in the Spanish league in 25 years' time. That's who they've sold the money of their TV rights, and they don't see that there's going to be a decent Spanish league of anybody wanting to watch it anyway. As far as they're concerned, everybody will be watching the Premier League, not their league, and they'll be watching the Champions League, which they haven't sold the rights to. And as far as they were concerned, if they could get themselves back on their feet this year, get back into the Champions League, be successful this year, They're better off in that position with 25% less TV rights for Spanish football, which nobody wants to watch, than they would be if they tried to get back on their feet by selling everybody and starting at the bottom and trying to work up. This guy who is the president of Barcelona wants to win. And as far as he's concerned, the way you do it is you do it by winning. And isn't that what the championship teams do when they drop out of the Premier League? Don't they bung everything in and take a risk to get back up, to get to the real money? Well, that's what Barcelona are doing. They're taking a risk that could cost them in the future. It could ruin Barcelona in the next 5 years if the team that they put together this year doesn't get into the Champions League. We did a thing on money, on where all the money comes from. And the Champions League is where Barcelona will make their money, not in Spanish TV rights in the Spanish league.
Their thing. They will make the Champions League. Surely their thing is that they've got to win something.
They got to win something. Yeah, they got to win something. And as long as they keep winning, that money in the TV money, they see over that 25 years being less and less serious anyway. And Barcelona want to be in a European league. They don't. We remember all that. And to be blunt about it, it will happen. And it'll happen within 10 years.
I disagree. I don't think it will.
You know,
it'll happen in potentially some sort of format, in maybe a different Champions League kind of format. But in terms of just complete disbanding English teams from the English League, I don't think that will happen. The fans won't let it happen.
Right. And just to mention that the reason what's-his-face Donk isn't going to Man United, if anybody wants to know why that is, it's basically because Barcelona owe him a fortune and he has no intention of leaving without it. Because of the money situation, they stopped. They did a deal with their players to pay them less for 1 year and then double it the next year. But of course, if you're not playing for them or you're a player at Barcelona, you won't get your money back. So he gave up a lot of his money for one season to help Barcelona out, and now he wants to be there to get it back. If he leaves, Barcelona don't have to give it to him. And so he does not want to leave Barcelona without the cash he thinks they owe him, which actually they do really. But they're not offering it to him. And Manchester United don't want to pay it because it's an awful lot of money. And so that's why he hasn't moved. It's not anything to do with anything. Barcelona want him to go. Manchester United want him. He wants his money from Barcelona. And if United offered him that, he probably would, although he still wants European football. He wants to play in the Champions League as well. And with that other cash they owe him, which is millions, there's no way he ain't moving. There's no way he is moving without it. That's that. We will leave it there. I'll come back to you on the whole topic on the on TV things, because the rules have changed quite simply, and you'll find we'll all be able to watch Wycombe play on New Year's Day. We'll be able to watch them play every Tuesday. We'll be able to watch them over Easter. We're going to be allowed to stream and watch Wycombe home and away over November and December, I think, while the World Cups are on. There's lots of games that you don't have to go to anymore that you're going to be allowed to stream. I'll say that, and then we'll discuss the big arguments over this that's going on, particularly in Division 1. Championship, they seem quite happy, but it's Division 1 where all the big arguments are. And so I want to discuss that next week. A couple of other subjects that I thought we could discuss next week was the 30 years of the back pass ban, and how that's changed over the 30 years, and how it's affected the game. And also who commits the most fouls in the Premier League, and how you separate the clumsy from the clever fouls, but also, of course, you have to take away certain things. Like, you would say Manchester City don't commit very many fouls, but that's because they're not tackling for them, so you have to separate it by how many minutes on the ball and that sort of stuff. But you can start looking at who are the dirty teams who go for it, which ones aren't the accidents, and how they use them. And the fouls are actually quite interesting. And so they're 3 possible subjects for next week. So, Kieran, I've got to tell you last, sorry, I do apologise, because I'm sure you're all really, really fascinated.
Everyone clicked off.
Yeah, everybody's turned off by now, yeah. So, which is why I'm going to tell you who the band were at certain points, maybe, if I get round to it. And that was, the band were called City of the Lost. And the song was Streams and Flows, and it's an album I got off of Bandcamp on an album called Wasteland Guide 2. So I'm sure nobody's ever heard of them, but if you like the music, look them up. City of the Lost. Okay, thank you very much. Kieran, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And I'll say goodbye, and we'll see you again next week.